All right, let's talk about transforming your copy from something people just scan into something people actually feel. We're going to dig into how storytelling isn't just some fluffy, creative add-on. No, it's a hardcore, strategic tool backed by some pretty cool science that can completely change the game for how people connect with your brand.
So to kick things off, check out this number. It's from some research out of Stanford, and it's a big one. Stories that are remembered up to 22 times more than just plain old facts. Let that sink in for a second. 22 times. That's literally the difference between your message going in one ear and out the other and actually making a lasting impression.
So, you gotta ask, right? Why? What is it about our brains that makes stories so magnetic? We're about to get into all of it. We're gonna break down the science, the strategy, and yep, the hard data that shows how story-driven copy is the stuff that actually converts. Okay, first things first. Let's talk about your brain on stories. And I'm not talking about some vague marketing theory here. This is pure neuroscience. It's all about how we're literally hardwired to process information through narrative.
You know, when you're reading a really good story, something pretty incredible happens in your brain. It's not just about processing words on a page. Your brain activity actually starts to mirror the storyteller's brain. It's a phenomenon called neural coupling. It's like, for a moment, you're experiencing the story right there with them. It's a shared experience on a neurological level. Wild, right?
And that brain syncing thing, it triggers the release of a really powerful chemical called oxytocin. You've probably heard of it as the love hormone, but for our purposes, let's just call it the trust hormone. It's what literally builds a biological foundation for empathy and connection. So when you tell a good story, you're actually priming your audience to trust your brand.
And here's where it gets really practical. On one side, you've got a fact, 30% faster processing speed. Okay, cool. But on the other, you've got a story. How that speed helped them meet a critical deadline and save their client relationship. See the difference? The fact hits your short-term memory and poof, it's gone. But the story? That's anchored to an emotion. That's the stuff that sticks. But wait, it goes even deeper. Your brain has these things called mirror neurons, and they basically fire up as if you're the one living the story. You're feeling the emotions, simulating the actions. This is exactly why a good story-based testimonial, where someone can actually see themselves in that journey from problem to solution, can blow a simple star rating out of the water. We're talking like 12 to 1 better performance. It's a huge deal. So the science is fascinating, right? But knowing the why is only half the battle. Now, let's get down to the how. How do you actually do this? We're going to walk through two super powerful, totally proven frameworks you can use to turn pretty much any message into a story that grabs people.
First up is a classic you've probably heard of, the hero's journey. But there's a really important twist for copywriters. Your brand is not the hero. Your customer is. You, your brand, you're the mentor, the wise guide who gives the hero the tool or the insight they need to win the day. This is an absolutely killer framework for your About page or for those big, in-depth sales pages.
Okay, for copy that's a little more direct, more focused on getting that conversion, there's the PASS model. It's brilliant. The P is for problem. You start by hitting on a very specific, very real pain point that your audience is dealing with. And the key here is specificity. The more you can nail that problem, the more they'll think, wow, they really get me.
Next up is A for agitate. Now, this sounds a little aggressive, but it's not about being manipulative. It's about empathy. It's about painting a vivid picture of the consequences of inaction. You're basically turning up the volume on the emotional and practical costs of leaving that problem unsolved, creating a natural urgency to find a fix. Then, once you've established the stakes, you write in with the first S, the solution. This is where you introduce your product or service as the clear, obvious answer to the problem you just agitated. You're connecting the dots for them, showing exactly how your solution makes all that pain go away.
And finally, the second S. This is the secret sauce. It stands for story. This is where you close the loop with a quick, punchy success story from a real customer. It's the ultimate proof. It says, hey, don't just take our word for it. Here's someone just like you who used our solution and look what happened. It's powerful stuff.
Okay, so we've got the frameworks, but a good story in the wrong place won't do you much good. So now we're going to talk strategy. Knowing how to tell a story is one thing, knowing where to put it for the biggest impact, well, that's what really makes the difference.
Think about it. Every page on your website has a specific job to do. Your homepage? That's the perfect spot for your brand's origin story, your why. Your About page? Don't just list your team, make it a showcase of customer transformations. And case studies? They are just begging for that classic three-act story structure. You know, the setup, the conflict, and the sweet, sweet resolution.
And you know, this isn't just for big, long pages. Even a tiny little bullet point can tell a story. Look at this example, 24-hour battery life. Okay, that's a feature, but what about this? Capture an entire workday, from morning commute to evening workout without searching for outlets. Boom, that's a micro-story. It instantly lets you picture it in your own life.
All right, let's tackle the big, giant elephant in the room, shall we? AI. We're all seeing it. The internet is getting flooded with generic bot-written content. So how on earth do you stand out? Well, your biggest weapon is something that an algorithm just can't fake. Your secret weapon is what search engines, especially Google, call information gain. It's a fancy term for content that brings something new to the table, a unique insight, a different perspective. And what could possibly be more unique than an authentic human story from a real customer? An AI can't just fabricate that. It has to be lived.
I mean, look at the comparison. It's not even a fair fight. AI-generated content is almost always going to be low on unique perspective, specific examples, and emotional depth because it hasn't, lived. But human storytelling, that's where we shine. And those are the exact signals that scream expert and trustworthy to both search engines and, more importantly, to actual people.
Okay, so we've got the science, we've got the strategy, but you're probably asking, so what? Does this actually move the needle? Let's look at the data, because the numbers here don't lie. This isn't just a nice to have. This is a serious performance driver. Let's start with engagement. Pages that are built around a story see, get this, a 300% longer dwell time on average. 300%. And the reason is simple. People aren't just scanning for data points. They're actually hooked. They're invested in the story you're telling.
And that engagement, it turns directly into sales. A/B test after A/B test shows the same thing. When you switch from a boring feature list to a story-based approach, you can see conversion rates jump by up to 30%. That's a massive win, just from changing up your words. And this isn't just a short-term bump either. Remember that 22x number we started with? This is where it really pays off. A month later, audiences who were told a story show 65% higher brand recall. So your message doesn't just convert today, it actually sticks around in their brains for the long haul.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. In a world that is absolutely drowning in information, in a tidal wave of generic AI content, your single most valuable asset, the one thing nobody can copy, is your authentic human story. Your customers have a problem. You have the solution. The story is the bridge between them. The only question is, are you telling it? To learn more, check out our full blog, linked in the description.